What is up, team? Welcome back to the Red Storm Rapid Reaction Podcast. I am Cole Latchaw, back in the saddle again. Pat's busy teaching a bunch of high schoolers the benefits of the zone defense. So joining me once again, my brother Sean. Sean, we just saw St. John's pull off a miraculous comeback, but fall just one little point short. What an absolute heartbreaking way to end the game. Sean, let me ask you, with Dennis Jenkins stepping to the line for 2 free throws with 38 seconds left, as a fellow tortured soul St. John's fan, which just an absolute pessimistic mind, just like me, was there any thought in your mind that Dennis Jenkins was going to shoot 2 free throws and successfully make both?
That's just kind of the way it's been going this year. It just seems like free throw shooting has been a bugaboo, particularly kind of late in games. For starters, thanks for having me back on. I just want to start by saying RIP to my aspirations of a dry January. Certainly with a couple of losses like that in that short of a time period, it just wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be this month. So, boys, we had a good run. But we're going to put that to bed probably this evening. So, St.
John's will do that to you. St. John's will do that to you. They'll make you drink. Kudos to you for making it as long as you did. Let's talk about this Marquette game. Marquette, it was really a tale of two halves. Marquette in the first half, first off, 28 points in the paint. I don't really know what we were doing defensively as far as stopping them down low, stopping them on the drive. Obviously, it doesn't help when you have 11 turnovers, finished the game with 13, but 11 turnovers in the first half, resulting in 10 leak out transition points for them. First half, really, the story is Marquette's complete inability to make a three-pointer. I think they finished 0 for 11 from 3 in the first half. Obviously, you had to assume that was going to regress to the mean, that they weren't going to continue to shoot donut from three-pointer for the entire game. I know at one point Marquette was shooting 78% from the field in the second half. Marquette finishes the game with 73 points, 52 points of which still in the paint, so still struggled mightily even in the second half. Ultimately, St. John's is going to have to start winning some of these close games. Us finishing the game on a 14-2 run was a tremendous comeback. Obviously, we should be happy with a lot of the things we saw. The team didn't give up. The team fought hard all the way to the end. Awesome to have Rick Pitino back patrolling the sidelines after his short illness. But we have to find a way to start winning these games, because pretty soon we're going to come, March Madness Selection Sunday, and we have to have a solid resume. And right now, we have 2 quality Q1 wins, the Utah game on a neutral court and Villanova on the road. But we really need to just get one of those real resume-defining wins. And that could have been today at home against Marquette. That could have been on the road against Creighton. That could have been on the road against UConn. But still plenty of opportunities. But, Sean, talk to the people. Tell them what you thought about this Marquette game.
Yeah, so I know you kind of touched on it, but that first half really mirrored a lot of the Creighton first half, where it was kind of like they were getting wide open looks for 3 and just missing them. I feel like we were kind of fortunate to go into half with the score as close as it was, and then subsequently us actually being up at half this game. Marquette wants to get out and run. Coming into the game today, they had 15.7 points per game on the fast break. That was good enough for about 17th in the country for all of Division I. I feel like it's a tough matchup for us because obviously we want to pressure out front, and even that secondary offense was really forcing St. John's into some tough positions in their transition defense. You kind of saw then that weak side defender was having to collapse a lot to kind of help out with the touches in the paint, and unfortunately that kind of left that backside 3-point corner open. Got into the second half, and obviously, like you said, regressed the mean a little bit with the 3-point shooting. Unfortunately, we have to mention, the elephant in the room, another tough refereeing situation at end of game. I know I was talking to some folks online about how in the Creighton game, they play defense without fouling. That's what they do. They were number one in the country going into that game. So I wasn't as confused about the foul discrepancy as I was just frustrated with the end of game situation. And unfortunately, that came up again. I don't know how you make that call on RJ Luis on the reach in, which would have gotten St. John's another possession right there at the end. The guy was behind the play. You saw the one camera angle. It was like, there's no way you can make that call.
Right, which I think is really my problem with that whistle. I don't know necessarily that I'm upset with RJ being called on a reach there. Looked clean, kind of a tough call to make. My problem is with the referee who was making the call. It seemed like the guy on the baseline wasn't the person who blew the whistle. It was the guy who was behind the play, the referee. So that was I agree with you that I think the Creighton game was a little more egregious with some of the end of game shenanigans that went on there, but for sure, would have liked to see that call go our way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It's tough for the kids. I mean, obviously as a St. John's fan, it's frustrating, but these kids are playing their heart out, and that's 2 Q1 wins that a couple calls late in the game, could have possibly stolen them away from us. And obviously, like you touched on earlier, the narrative is certainly a lot different in reference to our NCAA tournament hopes with those 2 Q1 1-point losses. If we had those go our way, so it's tough. It's tough.
It's kind of a loaded question because we both are like-minded from how our father raised us to be a old school basketball purist. But what did you think about 10 seconds left in the game, down by 1? The best shot we can get is Chris Ledlum with a corner 3.
Yeah, tough. And then that Danis Jenkins. I mean, Danis got an open look there at the end. I was a little frustrated with kind of. I thought we settled for a lot of jumpers, like particularly all the way down that stretch in the second half. We went on that run, kind of just the way it's gone all season. Good things happen when we get touches in the paint. But unfortunately, I think we kind of settled for a lot of jumpers more towards the end of that game, which was unfortunate. But yeah, you kind of hoped we were going to get something going to the rim there.
I would say I'd love to take ball to the rim, maybe get fouled, shoot some free throws, and lay down by 1. But yeah. I mean, it was sort of a out of rhythm possession where they got the ball into the corner, and that it was a somewhat wide open look. So you can't be too upset. But again, like you said, much rather have something going to the rim. But yeah, what are you going to do? I have less of a problem with Danis. Last second shot there with only 4 seconds left. You kind of just have to get something, and it was a relatively good look. So apologies again to the Red Storm Rapid Reactors, our fan base, that they have to stare at our ugly mugs instead of Pat's tremendous graphics. But I am not as skilled technology-wise as Pat is. So we'll just run through the box score, talk about some things that jumped out to us. RJ Luis looked like the best player on the court for St. John's today. Really our go-to option for the majority of the game. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 7 for 18 field goal shooting wise. Continues to kind of be a volume shooter. Man has never seen a fast break that he didn't like. Rick raved about RJ's playmaking ability and passing ability, which we've seen in spurts, but a lot of times you see that kid going on a fast break, getting a rebound at one end or a steal at one end, and he is head down, taking the ball to the rim. He had a beautiful spin move on a fast break and got a great layup. And then all I was thinking the whole time was like, pass the ball, don't take a contested shot. And he makes the layup every time. So who am I? I'm an idiot. Danis Jenkins, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. My big concern with how Danis played today was 6 turnovers. We've raved about how Danis has played, specifically in conference play. Main thing that we've said, congratulating the kid, was cutting down the turnovers. Today didn't do that. And to your point earlier, you had to know that's what Shaka Smart and Marquette were going to try to do. They play that havoc style defense, and they wanted to turn you over. Shout out to my man, Mike Bren, SJU basketball fan on Twitter. We were talking during the game. The kid's a retweet machine. You just have to follow him, and you'll know everything that's going on the SJUBB hashtag. But he brought up the point where it's just like, that's what Marquette does. They're going to try to turn you over. That you had to be prepared for that. And especially in the first half with 11 turnovers, we simply were not. Chris Ledlam, 13 points, 11 rebounds. I think he had 10 rebounds in the first half. He played tremendously in the first half. Zuby, you and I were talking offline, only played 12 minutes, but a great 12 minutes, mostly spelling Joel in the first half. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block. One of the talking heads, I forget who it was, on Twitter had a great tweet talking about Zuby where they said, this is the 4-star that Kansas and Bill Self got that Rick Pitino has now been able to unlock. I am drooling at the possibilities of what Zuby will look like with an off season working with Rick Pitino. I just think his potential is limitless. He's still raw, but he's improving tremendously. I think it was with about 12 minutes left, maybe in the second half, we were kind of starting to reel a little bit. Marquette was making a run, and a very disjointed possession had Zuby with the ball at the top of the key, and they put like the spin move on the guy from Marquette, got all the way to the rim for an and one. I thought that was one of the biggest plays. I said to myself, if Marquette loses this game and St. John's wins, I'm going to come back to that as being one of the biggest plays of the season. Of course, we didn't win, but Joel, 11 points, 9 rebounds. I think he only took 1 shot in the first half. That is not the first time that this has happened this season. Sometimes I struggle with that, where Joel is such a tremendous presence down low, and we don't make that a point in the beginning of the game. And then you see Rick make those halftime adjustments, and it's immediately like, get Joel the ball to begin the second half. And that's what they did today. 9 points in the second half. Brady Dunlap has had a little bit of struggles shooting the last couple of games. 33 minutes today, 2 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Had that one tremendous, I think Jim Jackson on the call called it Odell Beckham on the save on the cross-court pass from Chris Ledlam. Saved it to get to Danis Jenkins. That was one of his assists. That was a tremendous play. But I think Brady for sure, when he's struggling to shoot, and kudos to the kid for having the utmost confidence, that's when he was playing so well for those few games, specifically the Villanova game. That's what got him these minutes, was how much confidence he had in his shot, and keep shooting, Brady. But if he's not making his shots, I think he does struggle at times. His body's still not fully developed as a freshman. I think that on the defensive glass, on the defensive boards, and on the just playing defense in general, sometimes he seems to get bodied a little bit. So hopefully he can get his stroke back going. Glenn Taylor, again, nothing that's going to jump out to you out of the box score, but thought he played solid defense. Pat would be absolutely doing cartwheels that we finally got to see his lineup with Glenn and RJ on the court at the same time. I think that was on the unit that was out there for most of the 14-2 run to end the game. At points, Rick started doing offense-defense substitutions for Glenn and Brady, but seeing RJ and Glenn on the court at the same time, I really think gives you a lot, sort of going small against teams, specifically then on the defensive end. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is Naheem Aline. Hopefully prayers for him that everything's okay. It seemed like maybe it could have been an ankle. I did notice that he did not. They said he did not come back to the court for the second half. So he immediately went back to the locker room, couldn't put any pressure on the leg, and then didn't make it back out. So hopefully everything's okay, and he can get healed up. I think that was a big loss today, especially being short Jordan Dingle. And prayers up to Jordan Dingle too, coming back from illness. Hopefully he gets better. Sean, any specific players jump out to you? Anything you wanted to mention there?
Yeah, just a quick note on Danis and Joel. I mean, Danis Jenkins, look, the team's going to go how he goes. He's the general. He's Pitino's guy. When he's hitting on all cylinders, the team's going to be successful. I thought kind of what you had mentioned about Marquette, they really tried to muck up that entry pass that we were looking for. That was where a lot of those turnovers kind of came. Danis is at his best in that pick and roll when he's probing and he's playmaking and doing it from that pick and roll particularly. And I think, Marquette really just threw a bunch of bodies down there and really kind of mucked up the entry passes, and that was a major issue for us. Joel, one of the things that I really like about Joel, and one of the terms that we like in the basketball community, is gravitational pull. When he's getting the ball and he's dominant down low, and the more touches that he gets, he's pulling defenders all over the court. So you can kind of take a freeze frame of a possession where he gets the ball, and you'll see defenders slumping from all different regions. So it's kind of, he's pulling all of those guys in. I thought the lack of touches for him in the post allowed Marquette to kind of extend us offensively, settle for shots, and I think that was kind of a missed opportunity. Otherwise, Ledlam was a bully in the first half, particularly really stuff in the stat sheet. Brady seemed composed. I mean, he wasn't as hitting his shots, but he had that amazing catch and pass. He had another pass, as did Sim Wilcher. Really nice assists on baskets, on backdoor cuts, where they really kind of, like an elite quarterback in the NFL, kind of threw the guy open.
It's so funny. I was going to harp on you calling Danis the general of the team. I had written down on my notes that Simeon Wilcher today gave us tremendous minutes in the first half while Danis was struggling with his turnovers. And the way you just called him an elite quarterback, I called him a game manager backup quarterback in my notes. I thought he did a great job of settling the team when we were having all those turnovers, and he came and he slowed the team down. Again, similar to like what I said about Glenn Taylor, where nothing's going to jump out to you reading the box score, but he stopped all the bleeding with all the turnovers, came in, played 9 minutes, didn't turn the ball over, played great defense on Tyler Kolek, who's one of the best point guards in the conference. Had one specific play, I forget who the wing was for Marquette, got Simeon on a switch, took him down to the paint, and Simeon just played straight up defense, didn't leave his feet. Jim Jackson called it out on the call, like great, tremendous defense, forced a missed shot, didn't foul. I thought Sim gave great minutes, and again, hope just with anything that him and Brady do that's positive, it's just learning potential and what they're going to be long term. So
yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned turnovers and him kind of really managing the game and settling down, and that's something he struggled with a little bit. So I mean, obviously, when you watch a guy like Sim Wilcher, the talent jumps off the page, the potential, and the closer we get to him unlocking that potential, I mean, he's going to be a special player. So good to see him get some good minutes today.
Absolutely. Sean, before we get out of here, I did want to ask you, what do you think? Rank it in the pantheon of throwback uniforms. St. John's today wore the classic Felipe Lopez.
Yeah.
Thunder, the horse, was in attendance along with Johnny Thunderbird. They're cheering on the teams, the mascot. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the Pittsburgh Steeler Bumblebee uniforms, 10 being the classic Philadelphia Eagle throwback Kelly Greens, give me a ranking for the St. John's Felipe Lopez throwbacks.
I liked it. Bonus points for the court wrap too. Mm-hmm. Dope. Mm-hmm. I'd probably say a 7 or an 8. I think there was a missed opportunity. You could have got that like wraparound skyline that some of those shorts used to have. I feel like that might have been a little bit of missed opportunity, but awesome marketing by those guys. I was a little disappointed in the merch they put out, the throwback merch, but
people on Twitter weren't particularly thrilled with that. But
yeah. It was cool, and that court wrap was sick. The We Are New York's team on the baseline was real nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, kudos to St. John's marketing. Kudos to Rick Pitino, Mike Craig, whoever was the person pushing those buttons. I saw the student section had some thunder sticks out there in the crowd too. So good for them. Maybe that's why Tyler Kolek went 0 for 3 down the stretch, free throw shooting, and 94% free throw shooter. Well, I guess the best we can do is look forward to Wednesday, Villanova at MSG. Another good chance for another great win. At the end of the day, like I mentioned before, we just want to see St. John's start building a resume here. We got to start stacking some quad 1 wins. We got to start taking care of business at home. At the end of the day, I think if we're on the bubble, I think the committee will recognize that they want Rick Pitino in the dance. They will recognize what a great story him getting St. John's back to prominence is. They recognize how dangerous a Rick Pitino-led team is come March. And I think we'll be just fine. I think those the Villanova road win, I think the Utah neutral court win, those are going to hold up good. And I'm still confident, even though we've lost all these close, big-time opportunities, still confident Rick can get us there. So at the end of the day, tough loss today, but brighter days are ahead. Sean, thanks again so much for joining us for Felipe Lopez. I am Cole Latshaw, Red Storm Rapid Reaction Podcast. Pat will be back. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.